You're probably familiar with night lights. This one has a sensor, so you just plug it into the wall, and when the sensor senses light, it turns the light off, and when it senses no light, when it's dark, the light comes on. Automatic little thing. You can buy it for about $1 at the hardware store. It's a pack of 4 for maybe $5 or $6. I've set up these two so that this one is upside down, and the sensor for this one is looking at this light, and the sensor for this one is looking at this light. Now there's light on in the room, so they're both off, but they are plugged in. So I'm going to go turn the light off in the room, and while I do that, why don't you predict what's going to happen? So you can see just one of the lights turned on. Did you see them both briefly turn on maybe? All right, now I'm going to use my hand and block the sensor on the upper one, and that'll allow it to turn on. When the top one turns on, it turns the bottom one off. I'm not even touching it. I can just move my hand in there and it switches quickly from one to the other. Get a little closer to the camera. And it's stable in these two states. So it can have that one on or that one on, and I just need my finger to cause a shadow in front of the one to make it switch states, and it'll just stay there as long as it's on. So if this light was on in the room and it suddenly went on, whichever one of these comes on first is going to stay on and keep itself on. Kind of a bistable state here. All right, get the lights back on. Now, if you have a couple of night lights and want to go, play with that in the bathroom, get an extension cord, connect one up. I've set this up so I've got extension cords mounted on a board, and I can set this out for display and let kids play with it. Hopefully, extension cords don't look too dangerous to parents. Maybe the very young children, they wouldn't want to play with that. So thinking about that, I decided to make this battery supplied. So what I did, I removed the prongs that plug it into the wall, and I connected the wires in here to places. I didn't do any rewiring inside. I just connected it to the places where the low voltage would be. And it turns out 3 volts is enough to run this. I think it normally runs about 5 volts. So it's a little brighter if you don't do this. And I've got a battery pack, 2 AA batteries, so supplying about 3 volts there. And set that there. The light comes on. And if I shine my other one on it, I can make it go off. Fabulous, huh? So now I've got a battery pack supplied nightlight. As exciting as that was, it was more interesting, in fact, to think about shining them on each other. And both of them upright make that hard, but I realized that if they were laying down on the side, I could do that a little more easily. So I 3D printed this little jig that lets me set the nightlight down on its side. And then I can put 3 together. And while I set that up and go turn off the light, why don't you predict what you think is going to happen when I've got 3 nightlights shining on each other. So let's get this on the screen where you can see it. So this one shines on that one shines on that one, and that one shines on that one. Now, it's a little bit subject to how fast or slow we've got it going. It depends on where they are positioned next to each other. So right now you can see this one's on, and it's shining, in fact, on both of these other 2. But if I've got them set up more or less even, I can get a nice slow flash, or if they're, that's really slow together, or if they're out here a little more, they flash really quickly. Let me try to turn it that way, see if that gives a better view on the camera. So let's see. This one is off. There we go. And it depends a lot on where you put it as to how much they flash and how long they stay on. Make them flash really quickly, or not at all, or really slowly. Kind of annoying. So if you can get three night lights, and hold them up together, maybe plug one into the wall and plug two different ones on extension cords, you can try to find a way to arrange them. Or I'll show a picture if someone wants to try to modify this. All right. I have a fourth nightlight. Now I figured that what the fourth nightlight would do would be a lot like what two nightlights do, because maybe if I put them in a square, I would have two of them on and one of them off. Let's put this other one in here. It's on now, it's not looking at anything. So if I put it in here, it's going to be off. The trouble is, it turns out it's really hard to arrange these things once I have a square so that one light is shining on only one other sensor. So it becomes difficult to put it in an arrangement where it's actually stable. You kind of have to do some other things to block the light so it's not flashing. That's stable. Let's see, can I try to switch it to the other mode? Not quite. If I switch it to that mode, it stops, but I don't have it set up symmetrically. If I do that, then it flashes. So it's got a couple of different stable modes. Kind of crazy stuff here. So I wanted to share that. I had made a prediction and I was wrong. And in fact, if I put, where is it? This one, lay it down on its side, I can have different influences on these things. It's also shining, it's also receiving light from some of these, and it does really interesting things. So if I have a chain of 5 of them in a row, it doesn't exactly do what I would predict. And it seems to change a lot depending on where exactly they're at. So 2 is very stable, 3 you can get a flashing pattern, then 4, 5, it gets really complicated. You might imagine, maybe you might want to make 100 of these together and just have them sit around and see how they interact with each other. We call that in computer science emergent behavior. There's a behavior of the ensemble that acts very differently than the behavior of perhaps an individual light, which just goes on and off, or even the behavior of just a couple of simple instructions. So you can have this emergent behavior from a bunch of different things. So if you have some night lights or a night light or two, go play with that. Or don't try this at home.